Malaga Radio.
Freshly squeezed.
The juice on all the daily events along the coast.
With just a little bit of zest.
You're listening to Malaga Radio. I'm Carmen.
And I'm Baptiste. We're usually with you every morning on Freshly Squeezed, helping visitors make sense of what is happening across Malaga and the Costa del Sol.
And this episode is a little different because Málaga Feria is almost here, one of the biggest celebrations of the year. And if you are visiting, you may have heard the word feria without really knowing what it means.
So this is not a list of every event. It is your guide to understanding the feria itself, what it is, why Malaga celebrates, how the city center works by day, what the rail is, what casetas are, and how you can enjoy all of it without feeling as though everybody else knows the rules except you.
And yes, there will be food.
I was promised food.
And dancing.
I was not promised that.
So wherever you are listening from, come with us. We are going to take you from the streets of Malaga by day to the Rail de la Feria at night and explain why this week means so much to the people who live here.
So, Carmen, what exactly is a feria?
Close your eyes for a moment.
That sounds ambitious this early in the program.
Just imagine it. You are standing in Calle Larios around midday. The street is full, the August light is bouncing off the buildings, and somewhere ahead, a violin begins.
Then guitars, cymbals, a great driving drum.
And suddenly, everyone around you turns toward the sound. A panda de verdiales is moving through the street. Flowers rise above the crowd on the musicians' hats. The rhythm gets closer, families stop walking, and visitors begin looking at one another as if to say, what exactly have we walked into?
Which is probably the right question. What exactly is a feria?
A feria is a town, or in this case, a whole city, making room to celebrate together. Families meet, friends share food, music leaves the theater and moves into the streets. People dance, children have their own part of the day. Horses, traditional clothes, and old customs appear alongside contemporary music, fairground rides, and people simply enjoying time together.
So when an English-speaking visitor hears the word fair, they may be imagining rides, games, and stalls behind a fence.
And Malaga Feria has all of that, but the rides are only one part of it.
Not the main event?
Not really. The heart of the feria is people being together, eating, talking, singing, dancing, moving from one atmosphere to another, finding friends, meeting strangers, and staying longer than they planned.
So it is not one event with one audience watching one stage.
Exactly. Think of the biggest house party you can imagine.
I am already worried.
In the kitchen, people are eating and talking. On the terrace, someone has started singing. In the living room, everyone is dancing. The younger crowd has found the loudest corner. The children are outside, and the grandparents are still going, long after you thought they would leave.
And the rides?
The rides are in the garden.
Of course they are.
But they are not the whole house. That is the feria. One enormous celebration, with many smaller parties happening inside it.
And in Malaga, those smaller parties continue later at the Real de la Feria.
Yes. During the day, much of the celebration is in the historic center. Later, the focus moves to Cortijo de Torres, where the Real becomes a temporary town filled with casetas, food, music, horses, children's spaces, concerts, and rides.
We should explain the real, because that sounds royal.
It does, but not in this context. Here, the real means the dedicated feria grounds. Think of it as the temporary town built for the celebration.
And the casetas are the different rooms inside that town?
Exactly. Some are centered on food and conversation. Some on traditional music and dancing. Some are more contemporary. Some suit families. Some suit younger crowds. And some hold the official cultural program. The official map really does show the Real as a temporary town with long caseta streets, youth areas, rides, equestrian spaces, children's venues, municipal stages, information points, and transport access.
And are visitors actually allowed inside the casetas?
That is one of the most important things to understand about Malaga Feria. Many visitors hesitate because the casetas look like private parties, but Malaga's Feria is known for its open model. The official caseta list includes peñas, neighborhood associations, municipal venues, cultural organizations, food-led spaces, and commercial party casetas spread across the Real. You walk, listen, look at the atmosphere, and enter the places that feel right for you.
So you are not expected to know where you belong before you arrive?
No, you are not expected to know every tradition, wear traditional clothes, speak perfect Spanish, or understand how to dance sevillanas. You arrive curious this, you listen, you watch how people use the space, and little by little, the feria explains itself.
Which brings us back to the verdiales in Calelarios.
Yes, and this is another useful distinction. Verdiales are not simply flamenco. They are a deeply Malagueñan folk tradition with violin, guitars, percussion, cymbals, voices, and those decorated flowered hats. The group is called a panda.
Still not that kind of panda.
Still not that kind.
So perhaps the first lesson is that Málaga Feria is not something you understand by standing outside and waiting for one main attraction to begin.
Exactly. The city itself becomes the celebration. By day, the streets and plazas fill with music, food, families, and movement. Later, the real becomes the temporary town where the party continues in all its different rooms.
And over the next few chapters, we are going to explain why Malaga celebrates, how the daytime feria works, what happens when the center begins to quiet, and how to arrive at the Real without feeling completely lost.
Most importantly, we want you to understand why people here wait all year for this week.
And why even as a visitor, there is space for you inside it.
So now that we know what a feria is,
Or at least we are beginning to...
let us go back to where Malaga's celebration began.
So now we know what a feria is, or at least enough to stop expecting one big stage and a few rides.
Progress.
But why Malaga? Why this week? Why does the city do all of this every August?
Because the feria is rooted in Malaga's own history. It goes back to the incorporation of the city into the Crown of Castile in 1487 and the annual celebrations that developed afterwards. Over time, what began as a civic and religious commemoration grew into the public feria we recognize today.
Which sounds very formal when you say it like that.
It does. But this is the important part. The history explains why the feria exists. The people explain why it is still alive.
And you can see that right from the opening.
Exactly. This year, the feria begins to announce itself on Friday, the 14th of August. At 8 in the evening, the Cabalgata Historica leaves Plaza de la Merced. Half an hour later, the symbolic keys of the city are delivered in Plaza de la Aduana before the procession continues through the historic center.
So before the party really takes off, Malaga reminds itself where the story began.
Yes. And then, later that night, the tone changes completely. At 10 to midnight, there is a drone light show over the port of Malaga, and at midnight, the pyro musical begins from the access road to the cruise terminal.
History at 8, drones at 10 to midnight, fireworks at midnight.
That is Malaga, old and new sharing the same evening.
And then Saturday morning brings the Romería.
One of the most important traditional moments of the opening weekend. From 10 in the morning, horses, carriages, and pilgrims gather around Paseo del Parque. At 11, the procession leaves for the floral offering at the Basilica Sanctuary of Santa Maria de la Victoria. This year, the Malaga actress Maria Barranco carries the city flag as a banderada.
And that is where the feria starts to feel less like an event program and more like something generations recognize.
Exactly. You see families arriving together, traditional dress, horses, music, the city flag, people who know the route because they have seen it before, and then beside them, visitors seeing it for the first time.
So the feria is not pretending history disappeared. It carries it into the present.
Yes, and that matters because later, when the streets are full of music and the rail is glowing at night, it is easy to think the feria is simply one enormous party. It is a party, but it has roots.
And Saturday evening completes the opening.
At 9:30, the official pregón takes place at the Real de la Feria. This year, it is delivered by Juan Francisco Funes Arjona, the Malaga CF coach who led the club back to Primera Division. Then at 10, the artistic lighting of the fairground is switched on.
Which must be a very Malaga combination. Football, civic tradition, a city speech, and then someone presses the button and the whole Real lights up.
Pretty much.
But this is where I think a visitor can misunderstand the feria. They may look at the fireworks, the lights, the horses, and the parade and think, that is the tradition.
And the tradition is bigger than the ceremony. It is people returning every year. It is families knowing when to meet. It is somebody teaching a child a dance. It is a group of friends returning to the same part of the Real. It is a panda de verdiales playing a sound that belongs unmistakably to Malaga.
So the official opening gives the feria its frame.
And everybody else fills the picture.
Which probably explains why people here do not talk about feria as though they are going to one event. They talk about going into the center, going to the Real, meeting someone at a caseta, seeing the horses, coming back another night.
Exactly. You do not really complete the feria. You live a little piece of it.
And for a visitor, that takes the pressure off.
It should. You do not need to see every ceremony or understand 5 centuries of history before you go. You only need to know that what you are walking into belongs to Malaga, has been shaped over generations, and is still being renewed every year.
So we have the reason. Now we need the rhythm.
Because the feria does something unusual. It changes character as the day moves on.
By day, the city center.
And later the Real, festival,
2 different experiences.
1 feria.
So next, let us start where most visitors probably will.
In the center, in the heat, with music already somewhere around the corner.
So imagine it is your first proper feria afternoon. You have made it into Malaga's historic center. Where do you actually begin?
Honestly, do not overplan it. Start around Calle Larios and Plaza de la Constitución, then let the streets do some of the work for you. Because during the Feria del Centro, Malaga does not feel like a city hosting an event. The city itself becomes the event.
And that is probably the first big difference for a visitor. There is no single gate you walk through, no wristband, no one stage you have to stand in front of.
Exactly. You can be walking through Calle Larios and hear Verdiales coming towards you. Turn into Plaza de la Constitución and there is live music. Move towards Plaza de las Flores or Plaza del Obispo and another atmosphere has appeared. The official program spreads the daytime feria across the historic center rather than concentrating everything in one place.
Which means wandering is part of the experience.
Yes, and I really mean wandering. You might start because you want to see one performance, then stop because somebody is dancing nearby, then realize half an hour later that your original plan has completely disappeared.
That sounds suspiciously like your normal approach to an afternoon.
Feria understands me.
Now, one thing we should explain properly is Verdiales, because visitors will hear it throughout the week, especially around Calle Larios.
And it deserves to be understood as its own tradition. Verdiales are very much from Malaga. You will hear violin, guitars, strong percussion, cymbals, and voices working together. And you will see the distinctive decorated hats with flowers and ribbons. The musicians perform in groups called pandas.
And not every panda sounds exactly the same?
No, there are different local styles. But for a first visit, you do not need a music lesson before you enjoy it. Just notice the sound. It is bright, physical, communal. And unlike a formal concert, it can feel as though it is moving with the crowd rather than waiting for the crowd to come to it.
Which brings us back to that line from earlier. The street is the stage.
Exactly. And it is not only Verdiales. There are dance academies, folk groups, choirs, flamenco, and live acts across the center. The 2026 program also continues daily flamenco at Peña Juan Breva, just off the main Feria streets, with performances from 3 in the afternoon.
That sounds like a useful contrast. Out in the streets, everything is moving around you. Then you step inside somewhere smaller and suddenly the focus narrows.
Yes, and that is one of the pleasures of the Feria del Centro. It can be loud and social 1 minute, then surprisingly intimate the next.
What about families? Because if someone is traveling with children, they may hear feria and immediately imagine a very late night.
The daytime program is much broader than that. Plaza de la Merced becomes La Feria Mágica from midday until 3:30 on most feria days, with theater, puppets, workshops, games, magic, music, and family activities. So children have a genuine part of the celebration. They are not simply being dragged through an adult party until somebody finally finds the rides.
That is important. This is a city celebration across generations.
Very much so. You will see children dressed up, parents carrying fans, bags, and water, grandparents who somehow look less affected by the heat than everybody else, teenagers moving between groups, visitors in shorts and summer clothes trying to work out what they should be looking at next.
Which raises another tourist question. Do you need to dress traditionally?
No, you will see beautiful traditional clothing, and for many local people, dressing for feria is part of the pleasure. But you do not need a flamenco dress or traje corto to be welcome. For a visitor, comfort matters more. Light clothes, proper shoes, something you can walk in.
And probably not the footwear that looked clever beside the hotel pool.
Exactly. The center is for walking and stopping and walking again.
Food fits into that rhythm too, I assume.
Completely. You are surrounded by bars, restaurants, and terraces already. So daytime feria naturally becomes lunch, tapas, something cold to drink, meeting friends, hearing music from the next street, and deciding you are not quite ready to leave.
Which is perhaps where tourists can make a mistake, trying to see everything.
Yes, do not treat the program like a challenge. You do not need to collect every stage. If you see one Panda de Verdiales properly, stop for some flamenco, have something to eat, and spend time watching how local people use the streets, you have already understood much more than somebody racing from one timetable entry to the next.
That is a useful distinction. The program tells you what is available. The feria tells you where to stay.
I like that.
You may use it.
Thank you.
And there is one more thing about the daytime feria that matters. It does not simply keep going indefinitely.
No, and this is where visitors who want to do both parts of the feria need to pay attention. The daytime music and organized activity in the center build through the afternoon, but by 6 o'clock the center begins to change.
Which sounds like the end.
It is not the end. It is the pause.
And possibly the smartest part of the whole day.
You have been waiting for this section, haven't you?
Absolutely, because next we need to talk about the part of feria planning that nobody puts on the postcard. Rest, water, food, different shoes.
And getting ready to do it all again somewhere completely different. Right, 6 o'clock. The center has been full of music, people, heat, food, and movement for hours. And now Malaga does something very sensible. It pauses.
Which is not the same as stopping.
No, the feria is changing rooms. During the day, the historic center has carried the celebration. But by 6, the organized music and daytime activity wind down and the streets begin to reset.
And this is the moment when a first-time visitor has a decision to make. Do you keep pushing or do you understand the rhythm?
The smart answer is understand the rhythm, because Malaga in August is hot and feria is physical. You walk more than you think. You stand more than you think. You stop for food, then music appears somewhere else. Then somebody says, come on, just one more place.
And suddenly it is several hours later.
Exactly.
So if you want the rail later, this is the reset point. Water, food, shade, a shower if you are going back to your hotel or apartment. And if necessary, a different pair of shoes.
You really are committed to the shoes.
Because tired feet have ended more ambitious evenings than bad planning ever did.
Fair.
And this is also how many local families approach the feria. They do not necessarily try to push straight from the daytime center into the middle of the night. There is often a natural retreat in the early evening. Go home, cool down, eat, rest, change, then head out again later.
Which makes sense because the night feria has its own energy. You do not want to arrive at Cortijo de Torres already exhausted.
No, and the Real is not a quick stop. It is huge. You will walk between casetas, pass the rides, hear music from different directions, see families moving one way and younger groups heading somewhere else. If you arrive fresh, you enjoy it. If you arrive already finished, everything feels harder.
This is also the right moment to talk about pacing, not just walking, drinking as well.
Yes, Cartajal is part of feria culture, but it is still wine. Sweet, cold, easy to drink, and stronger than it tastes. So enjoy it if you want to, but have water with it. Eat. Do not treat it like something to drink because you are thirsty.
That may be one of the most useful tourist tips in the whole episode.
Probably. And of course, you do not need alcohol at all to enjoy the feria. That matters too.
Especially if you are with children, driving later, or simply not interested.
Exactly. The feria does not require you to drink to belong.
What about families at this point?
This is a good moment to be realistic. Some children will be completely finished after the daytime feria. Others will have rested and be desperate to see the rides later. There is no correct version. The rail has family activity and a dedicated municipal children's program in the evening, so families can build the night around what suits them.
And if you are traveling as a group, this is probably when you agree where you are meeting later.
Yes, especially at the rail. It is large, busy, and divided into different areas. Pick a meeting point before somebody disappears because they heard music from another caseta.
Or because Carmen heard music from another caseta.
That is also possible.
So the pause has a job. It separates the two experiences, the center by day, the rail later.
Exactly. And I think that makes the feria easier to understand. It is not one enormous 12-hour blur. It has a rhythm. You join the city during the day, you step away, then later you come back into a completely different version of the celebration.
Which means we are ready to leave the center.
Yes, the streets are cooling a little. People are changing clothes, groups are starting to move, and somewhere out at Cortijo de Torres, the lights are waiting.
One question first.
I know what you are going to ask.
Why does everyone keep calling it the rail?
Come on then.
Let us go to the rail.
So before we arrive, let us clear up the name, the Real. Because if you are hearing that for the first time, it does sound a little royal.
It does. But here it means the dedicated feria grounds, the place built for the celebration. And in Malaga, that means Cortijo de Torres.
Which is a completely different world from the historic center.
Yes, by day, the feria spills through streets you already know. At night, you go somewhere created for the feria itself. A temporary town, wide avenues, casetas, music, horses, children's areas, the rides, the youth zone, and that huge entrance lighting up the night. The official map really does show the Real as a temporary town with its own streets, zones, services, and different kinds of spaces.
Last year, we tried to explain the scale with an imaginary drone.
You mean the drone you kept trying to take away from me?
For very good reasons.
This year, we are staying on the ground.
Much safer and probably more useful for somebody actually trying to get there.
Exactly. Because the journey is part of understanding the feria. You leave the center, you cool down, you reset, and then later you begin moving with everybody else toward Cortijo de Torres.
And this is where public transport starts to make a lot of sense. The rail is busy, road traffic builds, and once you arrive, you are going going to be walking anyway.
So the idea is simple. Make getting there the easy part. If you are already in Malaga City, follow the official Feria transport plan once it is published for your day. If you are coming in from the coast, rail into Malaga can also be a very practical option.
And once you are close, you start noticing something else. The crowd changes.
Yes, families together, groups of friends, people who have clearly been home, changed, and come back out. Traditional dresses next to ordinary summer clothes, young people heading toward later music, children already talking about the rides.
And eventually, you see the portada.
That is the moment, the entrance glowing ahead of you, music somewhere beyond it, people moving in every direction. And suddenly, the size of the place starts to make sense.
The official map helps here because the rail is not one giant open field. It is organized. There are long streets of casetas, the Auditorio Municipal, the Caseta Municipal del Flamenco, y la Copla, the Caseta de los Verdiales, the children's area, the youth zone, the rides, equestrian spaces, and practical services spread through the site.
Which means your first job is not to rush. Stand for a moment, look, listen, decide what kind of evening you want.
That is important because the rail can look like you need a strategy.
You need a little orientation, not a military operation.
I was about to suggest a map.
You can have your map, but do not let it stop you from wandering.
Fair. So, first-time visitor, you have arrived under the portada. What do you notice first?
Probably the sound. Not one sound, several. Traditional music from one direction, a louder modern beat somewhere else. People eating, children shouting from the rides, horses moving through another part of the grounds. It is not one atmosphere. That is the point.
Which brings us back to the house party idea.
Exactly. You have arrived at the house. Now you have to decide which room you want first.
And the rooms are the casetas.
Yes. And this is where the feria becomes much more interesting than simply looking at the lights.
Because from the outside, some of those casetas can look like private parties.
They can. And that is one of the biggest things visitors misunderstand. In Malaga, the caseta culture is unusually open. You are not standing outside somebody's private family celebration wondering whether you are allowed in. The official 2026 list shows a huge mix. Peñas, neighborhood groups, cultural organizations, municipal venues, food-led spaces, commercial party casetas, and dedicated traditional venues.
So you walk, you listen, you look at who is inside, and you find the atmosphere that fits you.
Exactly. One place may feel like dinner with a whole family. The next may be sevillanas and dancing. Another may be louder and younger. Another may have traditional singing that makes everybody stop and listen.
And somewhere, inevitably, there will be food.
You have waited patiently.
I have.
Good. Because next, we are going into the casetas properly. Not just what they are, how they feel, why food matters, why the dancing matters, and why the Real is really a party made of many smaller parties.
Now we are getting to the good bit.
I thought you might say that.
So we have arrived at the Real. We have found the portada. We have resisted the temptation to immediately disappear toward the rides.
For now.
And we are standing in front of what may be the most confusing part for a first-time visitor, the casetas.
Because from outside, they can look like separate private parties. Music coming through the entrance. People eating at tables. Friends greeting each other. Someone dancing at the back. And you think, am I actually supposed to go in there?
Exactly. It feels slightly like arriving at a party where you are not sure who invited you.
But Malaga does this differently. The caseta culture here is known for being open and public-facing. You will find peñas, neighborhood and cultural groups, municipal casetas, food-led venues, traditional music spaces, and much more across the Real. The official 2026 list stretches through more than 200 numbered caseta spaces.
So the practical advice is not stand outside looking nervous.
No. Look at the entrance. Look at the atmosphere. If it is an open caseta, go in. You do not need to know anybody inside before you cross the doorway.
And once you understand that, the whole Real suddenly makes more sense because these casetas are not decorations around the feria. They are where a lot of the feria actually happens.
Exactly. This is where our house party idea becomes real. Imagine walking through a huge temporary home. In one room, there is a family eating together. In the next, someone has started sevillanas. Further along, there is live rumba. Then another doorway gives you flamenco or copla. And a few streets later, the sound has completely changed.
Which means you do not need to decide what the feria atmosphere is. There are several.
Yes, that is why I would not tell somebody, go to this one caseta and you have done the feria. Walk first and listen. A caseta may be full of people sitting around tables talking over dinner. The one beside it may already have everybody standing. Another may be much more traditional. Another may feel younger and louder.
And the official site really does support that variety. The 2026 caseta list includes neighborhood peñas, cultural associations, municipal spaces, commercial venues, the Caseta Municipal del Flamenco, y la Copla, the Caseta de los Verdiales, and the municipal senior caseta, alongside dozens and dozens of other spaces is.
Which is why I like the idea of walking without committing too early. You hear something you like? Stop. You see people enjoying themselves? Take a look. There is space? Go in.
And if it is not your atmosphere?
You keep walking. That is not failure. That is how the rail works.
So there is no pressure to choose the correct room.
Exactly. You find your room or several rooms.
Now I have been extremely patient.
I know.
We need to talk about food.
Fine. Because food is not just something you grab between attractions. It is part of the social life. A table changes the speed of the feria. You sit. Food arrives. Conversation starts. Somebody orders another plate. You hear music from somewhere behind you. Then suddenly, one person gets up to dance, and the whole table changes direction.
That is much more interesting than treating dinner as a refueling stop.
Yes, food is one of the ways people spend time together here, and you will see that across generations. Children eating earlier, families sharing dishes, groups of friends stopping before moving to the next caseta, people staying much longer than they intended.
And what should a visitor actually look for?
Do not turn it into a food checklist.
But this is Malaga, so you may come across things like pescadito frito, grilled dishes, tapas, and later, something sweet. And if you see tejeringos, remember, those are Malaga's own style of fried dough, not simply another name for an ordinary churro.
You have just improved this program considerably.
I knew that would get your attention.
And cartujal will inevitably appear as well.
Yes, it is one of the recognizable feria drinks, sweet moscato wine, served cold, often in those distinctive pink cups. But remember what we said earlier, it is wine, not hydration.
Food, water, pace yourself.
And there are plenty of ways to enjoy the feria without alcohol at all. The social part matters more than what is in your glass.
That may be the real point of the casetas. You go in thinking you are choosing food or music, but what you are actually choosing is an atmosphere.
Exactly. And sometimes you do not even choose it. You walk past a doorway, hear a song, somebody inside smiles at you, and suddenly you have stopped.
That sounds suspiciously like how you end up with 6 after-show plans.
We are not discussing that.
Fair enough. So if the casetas are the rooms of this temporary house, we have food, conversation, and different kinds of parties, but we have not really talked about what happens when the music takes over.
Oh, now we are getting somewhere.
I knew that tone was coming.
Because next we need to talk about the music, traditional sounds, flamenco, verdiales, sevillanas, the younger spaces, and the part where you stop worrying about whether you know how to dance.
I was hoping we might quietly skip that last part.
Absolutely not.
So we have eaten, we have wandered through the casetas. We have established that the rail is not one party, but lots of different ones happening side by side.
And now we get to the part I have been waiting for.
I know.
The music.
And inevitably the dancing.
Inevitably, because one of the lovely things about the Real is that the sound changes as you move. One caseta might be playing sevillanas, another might have flamenco or copla. Somewhere else, there is rumba. The caseta de los Verdiales keeps that very Malagueñan tradition going into the night. And then, if you move towards the youth area, the sound changes completely again.
Which means 2 people can spend the same evening at the rail and come home describing completely different ferias.
Exactly. One person may spend hours around traditional music. Another might go to the Auditorio Municipal for one of the big free gala concerts. Another might head straight for the younger spaces and DJs. And another might spend half the night sitting with family, eating and talking.
The official program really shows that range. There are nightly verdiales, flamenco and copla, equestrian events, major concert nights, and the Explanada de la Juventud with DJs and younger programming.
And that is why I would never tell a visitor that there is one proper way to do the feria. There is not. You follow the part that draws you in.
Although I suspect you're about to tell me dancing helps.
It does.
There it is.
But listen, because this matters. You do not have to know the steps. You do not have to arrive already knowing sevillanas. You do not have to perform for anyone.
That is probably reassuring to a lot of listeners.
Good, because the point is not to prove you belong. The point is to stop standing completely outside the moment. Maybe you clap, maybe you watch first, maybe somebody invites you into a dance and you try, maybe you just smile and enjoy the music. That is still participation.
So join in does not mean pretend to be local.
Exactly. That is important. You are a visitor. You do not need to copy everything around you. You just need to be open to it.
And respectful.
Always. Watch how people use the space. Do not treat the feria like a theme park built for tourists. It is a real city celebration, and you are being welcomed into it.
That changes the tone completely.
It should, because sometimes visitors arrive worrying about what they should wear, how they should dance, what they should order, which caseta they should choose.
And whether everybody else knows something they do not.
Exactly. But the feria is not an exam.
Good, I did not revise.
I noticed.
Now, one thing that strikes me from the program is how multi-generational the whole place is. You have children's programming at 9:30 in the evening, traditional music carrying on until 3 in the morning, horses, jazz, flamenco, and then youth programming running alongside all of it.
That is one of the most important things about Feria. It grows with you. Children have their version, teenagers find theirs, adults find theirs, older people absolutely have theirs. And sometimes all of those worlds overlap.
Which takes us back to the house party idea again. Different rooms, different generations, same party.
Exactly. And that is why some of the best moments are not necessarily the big headline ones. It might be a family dancing together, someone older showing somebody younger the steps, a group of friends singing along badly, a child falling asleep while the adults are still talking.
Or somebody who arrived insisting they were only staying for an hour.
That happens a lot.
So what if someone wants the bigger stage?
Then the Auditorio Municipal is part of the experience too. The official 2026 program has major gala nights across the week, with artists including Diana Navarro, David de Maria, Medina Azahara, Nancy's Rubias, Zenet, Antonio Carmona, and Paloma San Basilio. But that is exactly why we are not turning this podcast into a concert list.
Because the daily program will tell you who is on that night.
Yes, Freshly Squeezed can tell you what is happening today. This podcast is helping you understand what kind of world you are walking into.
And the world is broader than one headline act.
Much broader. The big concert may be the reason you go. The caseta you discover afterwards may be the thing you remember.
That feels like Feria in one sentence.
It probably is.
So if somebody is listening to this and thinking, I am not a dancer, I do not drink, I do not speak much Spanish, and I do not know any of the music,
You can still go. You can still eat. Listen, watch, walk, choose a quieter caseta. See the horses, take the children to their area. Go to a concert, stay for an hour, stay longer. There is no requirement to become somebody else for the night.
you just need to find your version of the party.
Exactly. And once you understand that, the rail stops looking overwhelming. It starts looking like possibilities.
Which means we have probably reached the point where we should give people an actual first visit plan.
Yes, because we have explained what the feria is, why Malaga celebrates, how the center works, why there is a pause, what the rail is, and what happens inside those casitas.
So next, let us make it practical.
Your first feria, without trying to do everything.
So let us imagine somebody is listening to us now and thinking, fine, I understand the idea. I know there is the center, the pause, the rail, the casetas, the music, the food.
And now they are wondering what on earth to do first.
Exactly. So let us make it simple. Your first feria.
And the first rule is you do not need to do all of it.
That may be the most important rule because the program is enormous. There is activity in the historic center, family programming, verdiales, flamenco, horses, concerts, children's events, casetas, youth programming, and the rides.
So choose the version that fits your day. If you want a first taste of the feria, start in the center. Go around midday. Walk Calle Larios. See what is happening around Plaza de la Constitucion. Listen for the verdiales. Stop somewhere for food. Do not rush.
And wear proper shoes.
We knew that was coming.
I am standing by it because the center is made for walking and later the rail is made for even more walking.
He is right. Light clothes, water, sun protection, proper shoes, and keep some energy back.
Especially if you are planning to do both parts in one day. The daytime program in the center runs into the late afternoon and then the rail becomes the main evening destination.
So do not treat the gap as wasted time. Rest, eat, cool down, change if you want to, then go back out.
Now, what if someone only wants the night feria?
Then make the rail your focus. Get there with enough time to understand the place before it becomes too busy. Walk the avenues, look at the map, find a meeting point, and do not immediately dive into the first caseta you see.
Survey the house first.
Exactly. Find the kitchen, find the living room, find the loud room, find the garden.
And if you have children,
Build the evening around them. There is dedicated municipal children's programming in the Real from 9:30, and the official map also marks family and support services across the site. You can do the rides, you can stop for food, you can see some of the horses, you can decide to leave before the very late part begins.
which is useful because feria does not demand one finishing time from everybody.
Exactly. A family can have a brilliant evening and be home before midnight. Somebody else may still be choosing a caseta at 2 in the morning. Both are doing the feria.
And if you are going with friends, I would add one very practical rule. Pick a meeting point before you split up.
Yes, because once people start following different music, they disappear very quickly.
Especially certain people.
I knew that was aimed at me.
Completely. Now, transport. We do not need to turn this into a timetable because the exact services belong in the daily updates.
Right? But the principle is easy. If public transport works for your route, use it. The rail has dedicated access points, bus and taxi areas shown on the official map, and it is designed for very large evening crowds.
So if driving means spending part of your night sitting in traffic or hunting for parking, that may not be the best use of your feria time.
Exactly. Make the journey easy if you can. Save your energy for walking once you arrive.
And what about people who are nervous about not knowing the rules?
Keep it simple. Look at how people around you are behaving. Respect the space. Do not assume every tradition exists for your your camera. If you are unsure about a caseta, check the entrance. If you are unsure about a dance, watch first. If somebody invites you to join, you can say yes or no.
That feels important. You do not need to perform feria correctly.
No, you just need to be present.
And perhaps choose one or two things you genuinely care about.
Exactly. Maybe you want traditional music, maybe the horses, maybe food and casetas, maybe a big concert, maybe family activities. Maybe you simply want to walk through the rail once and understand what all the fuss is about.
And the official program is there for the detail.
Yes, but do not let the program bully you.
That sounds personal.
I mean it. A long list can make you feel like you are missing something every minute. You are not. The feria is happening all around you. Sometimes the best thing is the thing you did not plan.
Which takes us back to that earlier idea. The program tells you what is available. The feria tells you where to stay.
Exactly. And if you remember nothing else from this chapter, remember this. Do not arrive trying to conquer the feria. Arrive curious. Choose one part. Let the rest happen around you.
That feels like a very good first visit plan.
It is.
Which means there is only one thing left.
To explain why all of this matters.
And why Malaga keeps making space for this party every August.
So let us finish where we began. Not with the rides, not with the timetable, with the people.
We have talked about the center, the rail, the casetas, the food, the music, the horses, the rides, but none of those things explain the feria on their own.
No, because the feria is not really made by the program. It is made by the people who come back to it.
Every year.
Every year. Families who know where they like to meet, friends who have their usual places, people who remember coming as children and now arrive with children of their own, older people who know the songs before the first line is finished, young people making completely different memories in the same feria. That is what gives it life.
And I think that is the part a visitor can miss if they only look at the timetable. They see a concert, a horse show, a parade, a caseta, but the local person sees something they have been waiting for.
Exactly. And they see reunion, routine, tradition, a little freedom, a reason to wear something they love, a reason to call people they have not seen enough, a reason to sit around a table longer than usual.
So when we say Malaga is throwing a party, it is not really a marketing line.
No, it is a city making space for itself. And what I love is that the celebration does not belong to one age group. The official program makes that very clear. There are children's shows, equestrian traditions, verdiales, flamenco and copla, youth music, major concerts, family spaces, and events that make sense to completely different generations.
Which means a grandparent, a teenager, and a 6-year-old can all go to the feria and come home having experienced something different.
But still say they went to the same feria.
That is quite unusual.
It is, and that is also why the casetas matter so much. They are not just venues. They belong to peñas, associations, neighborhood groups, cultural organizations, municipal services, social groups, and businesses. The official caseta list reads almost like a cross-section of the city itself.
So when you walk through the rail, you are not just moving past bars, you are moving past pieces of Malaga.
Yes, and those pieces do not all sound the same. They should not. One caseta is traditional, another is younger, another is full of people eating, another has dancing, another has a family that has probably been sitting at the same table for hours.
Which makes the house party comparison work even better. The rooms are different because the people are different.
Exactly. And nobody needs every room to be their favorite.
Now, what about the visitor in all of this? Because this is Malaga's celebration, not ours.
That is the important part. You are a guest, but you are a welcome guest. There is a difference.
Meaning?
You do not arrive and demand the feria to change around you. You arrive curious, you watch, you listen, you learn a little, you respect the traditions. And then, if somebody makes room for you, you step into it.
Which in Malaga seems to happen quite easily.
It does. That is part of the warmth of the feria. A smile, a conversation, someone moving a chair, somebody explaining what you are hearing, someone saying, come on, not because you have suddenly become local, but because for a few minutes you are sharing the same moment.
And that probably matters more than knowing the names of every performer.
Much more. You might forget who was on stage at 4 p.m. You probably will not forget the person who showed you where to stand, or the family who made room at the edge of their table, or the older woman who laughed because you tried the dance and got it completely wrong.
I feel attacked.
I did not say your name.
You did not need to.
But that is the point. The memory is often human, not scheduled.
And maybe that is why the feria survives so well, because the official program changes every year. The artists change, the individual events change, but that need to come together does not.
Yes, the feria keeps renewing itself because people keep bringing themselves back to it. Their families, their music, their food, their stories, their way of celebrating.
And there is something else here. The feria is not shy.
No, Malaga does not celebrate quietly.
That much we have established.
But it is not noise for the sake of noise. There is a generosity to it, a willingness to be visible, to say, this is ours, this is who we are, and you are welcome to see it.
And maybe join it.
Maybe join it, dance if you want. Do not dance if you do not. Eat, listen, walk, sit, watch the horses, take the children, stay for an hour, stay until late. There is room for different people to do feria differently.
Which brings us back to where we began, a visitor wondering what exactly a feria is.
And now we can answer it a little better. It is not the rides. It is not one concert. It is not one street. It is not one tradition. It is people making time for one another.
In public, at full volume.
Very often, yes.
So perhaps the reason to go is not simply to see what Malaga has organized.
It is to see Malaga enjoying itself, and maybe for a little while enjoy it with them.
That feels like the right place to finish.
Almost. Because before we leave, we should tell you where to find out what is actually happening on the day you decide to go.
And where Carmen will be every morning still talking about the feria.
Happily.
I know.
So let us close this properly.
Before we leave you, one practical thing. This special has explained the feria, what it is, why Malaga celebrates it, how the center works by day, and what happens later when the party moves to the Real. But once feria week begins, what is happening changes every day.
So if you are here during the feria, join us every morning on Freshly Squeezed from 8 until 11 on Malaga Radio. We will be following it day by day. What is happening in the center, what is coming later at the Real, and the useful things worth knowing before you head out.
And you will hear the feria throughout the Malaga Radio Weekly Diary as well, alongside everything else happening across Malaga and the Costa del Sol.
And there is another change this week.
The new Malaga Radio website.
Yes, MalagaRadio.com has had a complete rethink. It is not really a traditional radio website anymore. It has been designed around you, the visitor.
So instead of starting with the radio station, you can start with the question you actually have. What is happening? What can we do? Where should we eat? Where are we visiting? Which podcast might help?
And if you are not sure yet, there is help for that too. You can still press play when you want the music, but now you can also browse the weekly diary, activities, food ideas, town guides, and podcasts when you want ideas for your stay.
Which actually fits what we have been saying throughout this special. Here is what is around you. Take what fits.
Exactly. And if, after all of this, you still want more feria,
there is another journey waiting.
The drone.
The imaginary drone.
Last year, we made another Malaga Feria special. That time, we flew you over the rail, over the lights and rides, past the casetas, into the food, and eventually,
I know what is coming.
the dancing.
Of course.
We had a lot of fun making that one. So if you want another way to imagine the scale of the Royal at night, look for our previous Malaga Feria special wherever you listen to Malaga Radio podcast.
But whether this is your first feria or your 20th, there is probably one thing we hope you take from this episode.
Do not worry about knowing everything before you arrive. You do not need to understand every tradition. You do not need the perfect clothes. You do not need to know the dance. And you certainly do not need to see everything. Come curious. Listen. Watch. Take your time. Find the part of the party that feels right for you.
Because Malaga is not building a show and asking you to stand outside and watch it.
No, Malaga is celebrating families, friends, children, grandparents, musicians, dancers, neighborhoods, peñas, people making time for one another
And leaving the door open
for you to come in.
So wherever your feria takes you, the streets of the center, dinner in a caseta, the horses, the music, the rides, or simply one evening walking through it all,
Enjoy it your way. And if somebody asks you to dance,
here we go.
At least think about saying yes.
From Carmen, from me, and from everyone at Malaga Radio.
Have a wonderful feria. Feliz Feria, Málaga.
Malaga Radio. Malaga Radio.